On Tuesday, February 9th, the Democratic primary will take place to fill the Georgetown City Council seat vacant because of last year's death of Councilman Rudolph Bradley. 3 names will be on that ballot: Sheldon Butts, Ricky Ferdon, and Reverend Ronald McInnes. The winner faces Republican Jonathan Angner in April. We sat down with all 3 of the candidates who will be on the February 9th ballot. We're presenting the interviews in alphabetical order. We began our interview with Sheldon Butts by asking about Councilman Rudolph Bradley.
When I came back to Georgetown, Mr. Rudolph was one of the individuals that I chose to stick around because of his knowledge set of the city of Georgetown, and the way he is a people's person. He's around people all day long with his business. So we had a nice relationship. He was able to mentor me in some areas, and then there were some areas that I took it in as what it was and chose to make a different approach to what we discussed. But we never had an incident. We always did. We disagree sometimes, and that's okay. That's what governance is about. But he was always the one that put it straight, and you could give it back straight to him and he would understand.
What are some things, a couple of things that you may take to the seat that he stood for, that you're going to let people know, okay, this vision he had is going to continue?
Mr. Bradley wasn't a fence straddler. So that's one thing I've learned from him, and I know that's one of the things I'm going to go forward with is be transparent, be real to the words that you actually speak. And don't weigh on people who are listening to you to make your decisions. Once you make a concrete decision, you stand by it, you stay with it, you make sure that it's executable, and that's how a lot of people respect you is by your word. And some people didn't like his word, but he still spoke it, and that's what I choose to be, is just open, honest, transparent, and don't be anybody's puppet, string, or a fence straddler.
Now, of course, you've served on council before. You served a term, and then in 2019, you were unelected. What do you think happened? What happened in 2019?
I lost by 10 votes, number one.
Yeah, it was close.
10 votes. And so when individuals tell me their vote doesn't matter, it boils my soul to hear people say that, young and old. I think it was voter apathy. We tend not to vote outside of presidential elections. If you look at the percentages of an off-year, off-cycle election versus a presidential election, you're always going to have a big percentage that's lower than you have with a presidential election. I'm not making that as an excuse, because that was a 17% turnout that election cycle, and nobody can win. I mean, it was just, you see how close it was very close, and anytime you have a percentage of 17%, you're going to have stuff like that. But I think it attributed to voter apathy, and people just thought I was going to win again. As a lot of people told me, it's like, well, but we know you got the seat, but don't worry about it. No, go vote, please. So that's what I think happened, Scott. Just people just did not get out and vote, and it caught me 10 votes short in serving another term.
Now, you were, a fighter for all the people in Georgetown when you were on council, but one of your big achievements was the West End. You helped form the West End Committee. Therefore, kind of went away after you weren't on council anymore. If you are elected, you're going to try to revive that committee?
Absolutely, positively, yes. And to be honest with you, I'm still working on it right now. I'm a leader, one of the leaders, Scott, that in politics, you know how people lose and they ride off into the sunset and you never see them again until another maybe 12 years, and then they decide. I'm just not that type of person. So I never was disconnected when I lost by that 10 votes in 2019. So I've been in direct contact with the city planner, and after speaking with the city planner and her staff, they decided that the West End subcommittee was going to now be a formal subcommittee of the city of Georgetown, just like your ARB, your planning commission, your zoning and appeals. It's going to be an official quasi-government board that's going to be led by the citizens, just like all of the other boards are led by the citizens. And what that does is give the people a chance to have pride again and take care of where they live and for the future of their children. But yes, that's going to be an ongoing issue that I'm going to tackle until we cross that economical divide.
And what are some of the issues, especially in the West End, that need to be tackled?
Substandard housing, blight, dilapidated housing, lack of housing, affordable housing. Business and services are not as apt to be as good over in the West End. Once upon a time, the West End had over 60-something businesses in the West End. I promise you, there may be 5 now that's over there, if that. So we have to rejuvenate the area. The area has to be revitalized. The area has to be part of the redevelopment plan of the city. It has to be a part of the strategic plan of the city. And when that happens, we'll see change that a lot of people are desiring with the West End.
Now, I know the city has in its budget money to tear down dilapidated, unsafe housing. Do they need to be doing more than that then?
Yes and no. So if the city wants to get into the business of actually taking ownerships of properties that have been left said by nobody, then it's going to have to be a budgetary item. However, we have to make sure that all of the legal stances are in place, because some of these properties that are dilapidated and ugly and makes us look like a third world country sometimes, they're heirs property. So those properties actually belong to somebody, and lawfully, as long as those individuals are paying the taxes on said property, then that property can stay the way it is. However, I think if the city makes an ordinance with reference to the upkeep and maintenance, nobody's looking for a pristine Market Commons type yard, but have some kind of pride in what you have. And as long as we have those type of ordinance that could actually fulfill that, I think it would be better for the West End.
What about other areas of the city where people will be voting for you possibly as well? I mean, what can you do for those areas, whether it's Maryville, Historic District, Country Club Estates, whatever? I mean, those areas, what would you do to help those people?
And then that's where I talked to you earlier about quality of life. We in the city of Georgetown, and when I talk about quality of life, I'm not just talking about beaches and rivers and fishing and so forth, but we do not have what we call leisure activities within the city of Georgetown. So we spend a vast amount of our taxpayers' money feeding our sister counties, going to the movies, mall, stores, you name it, every leisure activity that you can think of, it goes to Horry County, Berkeley County, or Charleston County. That should not be the way that we define our quality of life, because everybody just can't afford to do travel like that, put their car filled with their kids and drive to Myrtle Beach, and a ticket now for the movie is like $12 for one ticket, and family of 5, you got $60 right there plus gas, and we're losing out on that. We have to have some kind of quality of life adjustment in the city of Georgetown, and part of that deals with infrastructure. The roads here in the city of Georgetown are the worst in any area I've probably lived in a long time. And one of the statements I always get to give a constituent is, well, Georgetown doesn't own that street. That answer has to be a no answer. That shouldn't be an answer anymore. Okay, Georgetown, the city of Georgetown doesn't own that street. We know the Department of Transportation owns that street. We have a binding document with them that those streets have to be safe and passable for all who transverse that. So we have to get the priorities with our roads and streets fixed. And even if that means we have to lean on our state legislators, but we have to be able to make a noise other than being quiet about these things, because it's definitely a hazardous situation to be in here, the way these roads are in the city of Georgetown.
You're a motorcycle rider, and I remember you bringing up the problem with the Maryville Bridge. While it's bad for cars, it's almost dangerous, very dangerous for motorcycles, because you've got these ruts, you've got these holes in the bridge, and it doesn't seem to have gotten better since you brought that up at least 2 years ago, if not more.
That's a fact. I just came from over Maryville just now, and the holes are back again. And when DOT remedies the problem, they fill it with asphalt. And I don't get how you fill a concrete structure with asphalt and hope that that's going to fix the problem. So every 3 months, maybe the asphalt is gone because of the truck and vehicular patterns that we got going from north to south and south to north. But that's another one. Nothing's going to happen until something happens. And I pray to God that nobody is killed, especially on the motorcycles, because I had a bad situation hitting one of those holes coming over the bridge, and it's just a matter of time. So why even play around with that? Hold the Department of Transportation liable. If we got to bring lawsuits against them, bring lawsuits against them, but just don't sit and tell our citizens that, well, it doesn't belong to us, it belongs to DOT, they'll fix it.
On another topic, when you were on council, one of the issues that came up was, of course, Liberty Steel, Georgetown Steel. You were in favor of letting them start back and try to make it work again. It didn't. What do you think should happen with the property?
That's still a tough pill to swallow, but if Liberty does not stay within the confines of the agreement with the city of Georgetown and the county of Georgetown within that 365-day period, I don't think it should be anything else that's heavy industrial. I think the area should, again, going back to the strategic plan, we need to put inside the strategic plan a method on how to make that area suitable and beneficial for all the city residents of Georgetown and the state of South Carolina. There's so much that property area can be, but there's a problem with the penny sales tax that was set aside to utilize to maintain the port. And that port right now, it's not even good for leisure activity. Boats have problems running up on the silt. So if we get the river dredge, that could be an added proponent when and if that steel mill site is transformed into something that's of more leisure activity. Mm-hmm. You dust off that ULI document that was birthed, I think, in 2014. That gave some very clear ideas. Not saying that we have to use that as a cookie cutter approach, but we have some smart people here in the city of Georgetown. We have some very rich people here in the city of Georgetown. We have some very connected people here in the city of Georgetown. So I know it will not be a problem of actually doing something. It's actually, will it get done?
Now, let me ask you about COVID and the way it's impacted the city. And one thing it's done, it's cause all city council meetings, all planning commission meetings, all the meetings to be done online virtually. Do you think the city needs to start looking at some way to get back, in-person meetings, or do you think we should keep this up?
I think we can safely, effectively do it if we follow guidelines from the CDC, the state CDC, from the U.S. CDC. I truly believe that we could have the 6 foot intervals between each other, wearing the mask at the meetings, sanitizing the podium before another person gets up to speak. I think it can be done safely and effectively if that's the will of the people. And I think I'm almost certain more people like myself, I'd rather go to those meetings in person. Mm-hmm. I frequent school board meetings. I frequent the planning meeting. I frequent the ARD meetings and so forth, and it's in county council meeting, and I like going in person. So if we can do it safely and effectively within the guidelines of CDC, I don't see why we shouldn't go back to a in-person meeting with city council.
I think the biggest complaint we've heard about the virtual meetings is there is basically no effective public input anymore. I mean, you can write a letter and the city clerk reads it on your behalf, but she doesn't know where to put the emphasis on the right words that as you were thinking when you were typing it. It just doesn't seem to be working. So if they do stay virtual, do you think that there should be a way to bring people on the screen so they can at least in person give their public comments?
Absolutely. I mean, we have so many different platforms that have come about after COVID that businesses are using very effectively and at a nominal price or at free. So yeah, there are some. I think it's a better way to do the virtual than what they do now. Most times it's only telephonically, and you hear the voices.
And that's better than what they're doing now. Even if you can't see the person, if you can just hear their voice, so the emphasis will be where they want it to be. And do you agree with that?
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Nobody can explain my passion and vigor like I can explain my passion and vigor. So, the way I bring feelings into a situation is not how somebody else would bring feelings. So, yeah, absolutely, you get a lot more from what an individual's concerns are if you're seeing him or her in person or hearing their voice versus hearing the city clerk, which she's doing a great job.
Oh yeah, I'm not condemning her. I'm just saying nobody can read a letter the way the person that wrote it intended it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about this. When we heard that you were running again, there was some stirring, some rumblings that you may run for mayor instead of city council. Why'd you decide to go back for the city council route instead of the mayor route?
Well, I tell you what, that those rumblings didn't come from Sheldon Butts.
Oh, okay.
It was rumblings within the city of certain citizens that felt that it was time for a change. Everything in life is about timing to me. There's a time, a right time, a wrong time, and then it may be a time where it's just not the time. And I didn't feel right going forward with the mayoralship right now. We have too much going on. We are in a serious state of peril, not only in the United States, but here in South Carolina, in the city of Georgetown. And to try to change change the head of leadership during said times in a small city like this, I think it could cause more problems than be more beneficial. So that definitely wasn't my rumbling. It was rumbling of others that I appreciate. But no, I can effectively do what I need to do on city council until said time. This is another time for a mayor to come up. One more thing, Scott. So we understand that the city of Georgetown is a city that buys electricity from Santee Cooper and then sells it to the citizens of the city of Georgetown. As we know, Santee Cooper went through a bankruptcy portion, and the state right now is looking at different avenues to replace Santee Cooper. One of them is a company called Next Era. Next Era is a totally green company that is focused on all renewable, clean renewable sources of energy. And they will buy out every debt that Santee Cooper has to actually come in and give us what we need for our children and for the foreseeable future of clean emissions and clean gases and clean renewable energy. And it's going to be less expensive because the majority of it is going to be wind and or solar. So that's another thing that I'm championing on. I'm on a task force right now that meets regularly to talk about that. And so one of my main focus is going to be on ensuring that Santee Cooper is placed to the left and Next Era takes over and takes us into the future with clean, safe energy.
You've got two opponents that you'll be facing in February on the Democratic primary ballot. Why should people choose Sheldon Butts over the other two?
Passion, experience. I bring it to the table all the time. I'm never not disconnected, so I'm always involved in trying to be versed on all of the ins and outs of the city. I'm tied in already with a lot of local leaders, nonprofit leaders that understand and know that I will fight and or step in the gap with or for them, and people can appreciate that. And I just know that I will be the better person for it. And I will have the people's heart, minds, and soul with me in every facet that I take on City Council.